So guys, unfortunately this took way too long to film, and I had like 40 minutes of video, so I didn't really want to make it all one video. So this is actually the buildup of the trans, starting with basically dropping the used parts out of the old case into the new case, and then setting clutch pack clearance in the reverse section of the trans. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. We'll get right to the video. Thank you. So I checked my clearances in here. They're a little bit tighter than what I wanted, but we're gonna live with it. I don't really want to pull a clutch out of it because it is a 10 clutch, and I guess if that comes back to bite me, then I'll have to deal with it later. But it's around 80 thousandths. Most people say 10 thousandths per clutch. So 80 thousandths for 10 clutches gives us about 7 thousandths per clutch. Back here I added another steel, because when I ground the piston on the old piston, which is out of the old trans over there, it had way too much play in it. Basically, the book I was reading said desirable is like one for the reverse pack with 6 clutches. They said they wanted like 120 thou, which is way too much. A lot of people say same thing as the drum, 10 thousandths per clutch. So I think I pulled 100 thousandths off that piston back here, and I ended up adding a 70 thousandths steel to it, and it's still at right around 60, so that should be good. Just make sure you don't forget your wedding band. Mine's right here. I'm gonna shove that in here, and then I'm gonna get that little bearing that goes here and glue it on, and then put it in the trans. Now I'm going to go ahead and try to align everything with an input shaft before I try to shim this. Alright, so I gotta find my 2 band struts and my adjuster. I don't know where I set it, but I'll come back here when I figure it out. Alright, so that was just basically finding it and then running it in. I don't have any kind of adjustment on it. As you can see, I don't have my servo strut in. Yep, but we're gonna go steal that out of the other trans, and then we'll talk about it a little bit before we throw it in there. Alright, so here's my servo. It's a Sonex. Sonex makes a couple different ones of these. Mainly these aftermarket servos are to fix the pin bias effect. I'm not smart enough to really tell you how that all works, but I can tell you that they have videos and stuff on how it does work, and in like fewer words, basically it tries to eliminate band drag when you're not in first gear. So this spring is specifically made for this servo. This servo has a smaller chamber, as you can see. Rather than it just applying here, has a smaller chamber so that it has more pressure pushing out than it does pushing back this way. And then it's also a supported pin servo. So as you can see the bump there, it's got a guide pin in it so that it always applies straight in, straight out, and it doesn't have any wobble to it to affect the time that it takes to apply or unapply. So we're gonna go ahead and throw this in. And I literally just put this in there, so it's pretty much got the grease and stuff all over it from the first time that I put it in. We'll kind of straighten it out, but you can kind of get the gist. Just gonna go ahead and run this in real quick. All right, so that's all in there. I'm not gonna adjust this until it's upright and the band's sitting correctly. We're gonna go ahead and test fit our valve body on there. I'm waiting on some parts, so for me, it's gonna be a couple days before I actually get to the next step. For you, it'll just be a couple seconds. The part I'm waiting for is I had used this old governor cover, and what I want to do is go ahead and get a roller bearing one, because I ripped the gasket that I was trying to get off there gingerly so I could reuse it, but seems how I have to get a gasket. I'm gonna have to wait for it anyways, so I got a billet cover with a roller bearing setup in it. So probably the cringiest part of this whole deal is getting to where I need to drill a hole in the case. Brand new case, $1,200. If any of you guys have been looking for SFI cases as of lately, they are unattainable. Hughes, when they give you the instructions, it basically just says drill it where it lies. So they have it coming out of the main pressure galley. It's gonna go through there. So I'll leave the valve body on. I'm gonna vacuum it out regularly, but I'm gonna punch a hole through there, put that pass-through fitting on, then we're done modifying the case. Hopefully get all the shavings out, clean it super good, then take it back off, take the valve body back off, final clean it, and then put it back on. Right now it's just got a couple bolts in it, 3 to be exact, so we'll punch a hole there. All right, before it dies, here's my mess. I'll grab the vacuum it all out. Then hopefully it's a 1/2 inch hole, because that's the biggest drill bit in that set I have. That's what the final product looks like as far as the pass-through. So we'll take this back off, clean it up. Make sure everything's clean, remove that obviously. Clean everything. Once we get the governor, we'll throw that on, the tail housing on, then we'll start reassembling that, and then we'll put the pump on. So we got our new output shaft support. It's a needle bearing setup. I got it greased with the assembly lube stuff. It's just a jugs. There's the part number. Like I said before, I basically had to order one of those gaskets, and this is only like $50 with the gasket, so I figured I would just change to a needle bearing over a bushing style one, and I guess eliminate a little bit of weight, if you could even say that that's eliminating any weight. We'll go ahead and throw this on. So guys, as you can see, my tail housing's on. I kind of run into a little bit of a weird issue, and I don't know if it's normal because I'm not, a trans builder. But I kept trying to shove this tail housing on there, and it almost seemed like the governor housing was too big around. What I found is there's a clearance. Maybe you can see it. Let me go to the other side, you'd be able to see it. You see how that's got like a ground flat area there? You can see it above it. It kind of comes over to here. The casting on that tail housing was just a hair too tall, and it would interfere with this grind mark here. So I ended up taking a grinder to the top of this to kind of shave it down and let it come in. Maybe I'm just unlucky. BTE is supposed to be a pretty good case, and I wouldn't expect that I had to file on something that was $1,300, but times it is what it is, and you got to make progress. I don't know, maybe I'll tag BTE in this video or something, and maybe it'll save somebody from pulling their hair out, because I could have swore that Jeg's support bearing was too big to fit inside this thing is what was going on. And then I finally took all my bolts back out and looked at it, and yeah, it was the casting on this. So all right guys, so we're making progress. I got the valve body off to clean. I went ahead and put the rooster comb in along with the shift linkage. Didn't come with a shift linkage seal, so I had to pound one of them in there after I got it in the mail. So this is all adjusted correctly. We're gonna go ahead and drop the valve body on. I don't know how I'm gonna do this. I probably won't do it on camera, but one thing to look for is you need to make sure that this little piece of steel here is slotted into the range valve enclosure so that you actually have gears when you go to shift it. I'll show you what that looks like when I actually have the valve body back on and in place. Alright, so hopefully you guys can see that. Kind of hard to see in there, but you can just hardly see the valve in there, and you can see that it moves with this obviously, so just make sure that's there. Unfortunately, you have to put a plate over it. This keeps this from shifting side to side and releasing that valve so that you don't lose your gears. Now, not necessary. I think you guys have noticed I have a Hughes Performance dump valve set up, so I have to hook up this line. I'm going to clean it real quick. It goes from here to there, and it fits better one way than the other. I think it's this way. Yeah, I'm going to clean that out, throw it on, and I'll show you guys the new filter setup. This is the base for it. Alright, so this is the new filter setup. So you can see my lines back on. Clears everything. Pretty excited about this. A lot of people say that the Powerglide normal filter here, there's just a brass screen, is more than enough. But as you can see, the area of this, and this is only sucking off of one side. As you can see, the other side is just a piece of steel. The other side on this is mesh, just like this front side. So probably not necessary for what I'm doing, but we're gonna run it. I'm gonna throw the dipstick in, because this has an anchor tight dipstick where it bolts in here. So I'm gonna go steal that out of the other trans. It's kind of chewed up, but we're gonna run it. Hopefully it seals. If not, I'll have to get a new grommet for the pass through here, but I'm gonna do that, throw the pan on. We got new hardware for the pan, and then we'll put the dump valve on again and throw the, well actually we probably won't put the dump valve on, we'll probably just cap it for right now, and we'll flip this around and put the pump in. I've got two shafts here. One is a TCI that's made for the pump that I have. And the other one is a Cohen Racing, I don't know what alloy or whatever, but it's supposedly rated for 1500 horse, which is kind of a lot for a ring shaft. Normally a ring shaft will break at this first ring here. You can see down here Where these shafts differ is, you can see this is splined fully, this one here is not. I'm going to go ahead and run the Cohen one because it's rated for more power, so this one, then the TCI, and then just see how it does. I'm going to keep the TCI one that's made for the pump just as a spare, and honestly I have to build a glide for that car there too, so all these parts that I'm not using will probably end up in that car. So just wanted to show you guys that. We'll throw this in, throw the other one to the side, and then I'll show you guys the pump here in just a second. Alright, and here is the pump. This has a rollarized, if I can hold it still, this is a rollarized thrust bearing. This is the thicker of the two. I have one of the shorter ones as well for a non-machine stock pump, but I went ahead and ordered this one because I thought it would be better. These are scarf cut high pressure rings. We're gonna go ahead and throw it in. As you can see, my gasket is sitting in the housing. We're gonna go ahead and throw it in and make sure to measure thrust after it's together. So I'm just gonna put a couple bolts in it. We'll probably end up having to pull it back out a couple times because I assume I'll have to change the thrust on it. What I'm shooting for here is like 10 to 20, hopefully on the lower side of the 10 to 20. So I'm looking for like 10, 12, maybe up to 15. I would like to keep it on the smaller side of that. Once I'm done with it, I'll take it back out, put the rubber O-ring on, and then install it for real. The spec on these are supposed to be 13 foot-pounds. All right, so we got our gauge set up for our thrust. Got 2 bolts and the pump installed. We got a little more than, I would say 30, so I need like a 15,000th shim. See, we're at 80 right now. Back to +2. So I think that's just the grease squishing out of it because I can hold it in, but so I'm gonna shoot for like a 15,000th shim if I've got it and retest it. Probably not gonna bother with doing it on camera. All I have to do to shim that is take shims like these, which come with a shim kit or a pump install kit, and just find a 15,000th one. I have a bunch of them. I think a lot of them are over here. And I'll just put that figure one out that will be what I need with a dial caliper, and then put that behind that bearing I showed you guys earlier. I'm gonna end the video here. I really appreciate you guys watching. Hopefully we're gonna get that car together here soon. That's what this trans is for. So if the video helped you, if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them. I'm not an expert when it comes to trans building, but I kind of put this together because I struggled through one trans build and I didn't film it because I wasn't confident in what I was doing. Now after doing the second one, I figured some people may still be scared of it and they would like to see other people struggle their way through, which is I think what I represent well because like I said, I'm not an expert when it comes to this. So if this helped you, if you want to follow along on the build more, and if you enjoyed the content, please like, share, subscribe, all that jazz, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Thank you.